Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah, we'll start in 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, this is Drake's Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, the first of the Uncharted games. We're playing the remaster on the PS4. Start of the run is not that interesting. There's just a section here that we've got to blast our way through. There's not really anything to do to save time here.
Hurry up, Sully. Things, like you can see sort of waiting for the enemies, like as they climb up and shoot them as quickly as possible. It triggers the next cycle of boats to come through. But
yeah, even this sort of stuff isn't really necessary. You can wait for them to get onto the boat, but you know, this sort of just tightens things up. I like the dog model idea. Whoops. Great start to the run. That will cost me time.
That will, yeah. First chapter, like,
at least they spawn pretty quickly. There was only one of them.
No, you don't.
Oh, there he is. I've messed everything up now. I don't practice this chapter. As it's
why would you?
Yeah, very evident. It's clearly necessary, though.
Yeah. So as Spud mentioned, playing on the PS3 version of the game has one big difference between we have more here. One big difference between the PS3 version. They added an even easier difficulty because in the PS3 version, it was invincible.
I got the extra
even the easy difficulty on this game is like you can't run through some areas without getting absolutely boxed by enemies. But they added an explorer difficulty.
That's not good.
You don't really care about the combat. It makes it really good to just like barrel through areas and just not worry about enemies. And it actually does stay.
Yeah, there's just, even on like the PS3 version only has 4 difficulties, and you play the speedrun on it. There's quite a lot of very small things that you've got to do sort of for safety. Just because even playing on easy, there's usually plenty of enemies there, and they expect you to take cover, and taking cover takes time. So there's quite a lot of places where you've got to slow down. And,
I'm not as young as I used to be.
Kill some of the guys that are sort of in your way.
Yeah, there's usually like a couple of enemies that are like particularly bad. It's just like you have to take your time to kill those enemies before moving on. But here it's definitely not the case. So
in that intro section there, I demonstrated one of the older clipping methods, which is taking cover behind something and sort of shuffling back and forward over and over again. The old speedrun before what we sort of call the universal clipping tech was found, that was sort of the way that everything was done, but it was very limited because you could only clip when there was cover, and you could only clip in the direction of the cover. So it was very useful, but I think some of the better older runs were sort of in the like 130 sort of range. I think they were sort of pushing it down to the 125s or thereabouts. But fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on how nostalgic you are for old speed tech, the newer tech is much more, it's faster to do, and it's
it's older than that.
having trouble with a jump here.
yeah, so the idea of this jump, he's trying to skip a bunch of platforming. You can see the tree stump sort of out of the ground. It's just sitting a little bit higher up than the ground below. If you stand or just like run onto or stand on that tree trunk and then jump backwards, you have just enough height to make that unintended jump.
Yeah, it's like you need like 1 pixel of height or something.
Yeah.
You just hit the tiniest little amount, and then all of a sudden you can grab the ledge behind you.
Yep.
Otherwise, yeah, there's about 20 seconds of platforming that you've got to do.
Yeah. It's also worth mentioning as well. This is getting used to all the basic movement. So he's sort of running and jumping. There's a couple of kinds of movement speed in this game. At the moment, he's just got his normal. I guess I just call it jogging speed. And jogging speed is not very fast. It actually ends up being faster to just jump everywhere whenever you have this standard jogging speed. But whenever he gets into combat, which will happen a little bit later on, he starts running, and running is a lot faster than jumping. So, yeah, so depending on what kind of movement speed you have, you'll see him either jumping or just like straight running. Also, you'll be seeing him sort of wiggle through walls a lot, like that.
That's the universal clipping
That's the
tech.
universal tech. And
you can use it on any wall. It's easy to do it on flat walls, but if you're persistent enough, you can go through just about anything.
Yeah, so if you kind of just go parallel with the wall, sort of aiming out, there's a certain way of doing it. But basically, if you go parallel with the wall, and then you just like spam aim and then hold into the direction of the wall you want to clip through, you just sort of go through the wall for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why it works, but yeah, as you can see, it's very, very useful. Useful for a number of reasons, actually.
It's not like just the fact that you're, skipping rooms and skipping puzzles, but doing a lot of this stuff will actually skip spawning in enemies and all sorts of very useful stuff like that. People who have played this game casually will tell you how frequent and often and how many enemies there are in all of the combat sections.
Yeah. Also, this is supposed to be a quick time event.
Yeah, the camera's actually meant to be pointing backwards for that.
Yeah, because he skipped into it. The game doesn't really know what to do, so you just run through it. Yeah.
It's actually quite awkward doing it the intended way because, the camera's pointing behind you and you can't actually see much of the ground in front of you. So there's a skip here that we can do, clipping through that wall there. It actually looks quite cool, but it saves about 10 seconds or thereabouts. And there's a chance of dying if you don't get the clip exactly right. Then
it's not the easiest clip in the world. So
we're just going to go around it. But you basically just spawn on in the forest area over to the left. Basically, the main benefit of that is it saves a tiny bit of time just in sort of a direct path because you don't have to go around that area. But there's a cutscene coming up here, this one here. That you can't skip, that it doesn't load, so you just walk straight past it.
Alright, so now we've got what we call submarine clip. This is a pretty infamous trick. You kind of clip into into the submarine or like invisible scenery here.
I'll let you show that.
And he needs to be careful here because this clip can crash the game.
I might have actually taken too long to get in there and it might do it now
too. It's a very finicky one. No, got it. Okay, so if you see the deload there, so he's now inside the submarine.
Basically, there's one of the cutscene triggers inside the submarine. I'm guessing the trigger for it cuts through to the bottom of the submarine, and as a result, if you can just basically get under sort of the nose of the submarine, you can trigger it, and you skip all sorts of platforming going all the way around and then going into the submarine. There's a couple of small cutscenes along the way as well, so it saves probably. I haven't done it the normal way in quite a long time, but it probably saves about a minute and a half or something.
It's a lot of time, yeah. But yeah, it's worth pointing out that on the PS3 version as well, that was significantly riskier. The PS4 version actually made it so you can go into the loading zone quicker without it crashing. The PS3 version, you had to kind of keep an eye on surroundings and the environment would change textures or colors or something, and then you would know you'd be okay to go into the loading zone. It was just a lot riskier, but there's been strats found for the PS4 version that allow you to pretty much walk, when you clip, you can walk straight into it. But it's still something that can crash, and it does happen still somewhat frequently, so you have to be a little bit careful.
Otherwise the submarine section is quite boring. There's this ongoing mystery where in one runner once got running speed in here, full combat running speed running through the submarine, which is immensely faster than what's going on now. And as a result, he cleared this area in probably 45 or maybe even a minute 45 seconds or a minute faster than normal, and people tried to replicate it. There was quite a few, a lot of the people that come up with a lot of the other strategies in the game that have put tons of work into the game have never been able to replicate it. As far as I know, I haven't seen any of them anyway. And there was definitely, at the time, there was definitely a lot of people trying, but I think they just gave up after a while.
Yeah, just want to watch mysteries, I guess. So that was combat speed that he had there. He still has it, which is why he's not jumping. You can kind of see the difference with the combat speed. It is pretty significantly faster. You obviously want combat speed wherever you can because it's explorer difficulty, and you can just barrel past. You can just barrel past enemies. You want to try and get combat speed wherever you can. Tried to pick up a gun there, but didn't quite get it.
They keep throwing it directly away from there.
But yeah, so combat speed is obviously the ideal thing. There's going to be one. I think it's the end of this chapter, isn't it? Where you're going to try and carry combat speed into the next chapter.
Yeah. The very end of this chapter, I'll try and carry combat speed into the next one.
Yeah.
Tell you later.
But yeah, he also did. There was something you probably noticed at the very start of the running away scene where he had combat speed.
I don't want to wait too.
There was an enemy that was sort of standing in his path that usually has a quick time event, and he sort of just jumped past this trigger. Then just completely skipped it. So.
Yeah, the thing about that is because I skipped that tutorial. It was meant to be a tutorial for the melee combat in the game. Because I skipped it and the game expects you to have done it, if I get locked into melee combat at any point throughout the rest of the game, it's going to trigger that tutorial.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. If I've had it happen in chapter 16 before.
Oh man. Also, the thing he did there were 4 enemies went up the stairs. There were 4 enemies he had to kill, and then he restarted checkpoint. After you kill those 4 enemies, it actually gives you a checkpoint a little bit further along. So it ends up actually saving time to restart checkpoint. It puts you further along than you actually are. It's pretty minimal, but it's free time save. So.
If you're doing a roll and you pick up ammo, he doesn't do the bend down animation. That's what I was trying to do with all those AKs, but they kept throwing them away from me, so I didn't end up getting them. But
yeah.
I did it with the pistol there, so I've got enough to do this area here. Oh, I almost got in there. Almost triggered the tutorial.
Yeah.
How did I go?
Alright, just fire into the cutscene. Should work.
I was literally just told this before. I've always had trouble getting combat speed into here.
That doesn't work.
Yeah,
That's always worked for me. Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know. I might have taken too long. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Basically, for magic and pixie dust gives you combat speed in this chapter sometimes, and it's really, really useful. It saves 30 or 40 seconds, and there's a few things. I was told that you need to kill that last guy and then wait a certain amount of time, and then I usually go by about 5 seconds or something like that. I was just worried I was going to land inbounds there.
Yeah.
I was always told that you wait about 5 seconds and then, ooh, that was close. I'm traversing a little out of bounds area here, and it's a little bit hairy because you can't really see where you're going, and it's really easy to pop back inbounds, and if you go too far out, then you fall off the edge of the world. So, it gets a little bit hairy.
Yeah, there's a lot of enemies that spawn in this area as well,
Yeah.
so he's just despawned all of them. He's just going to run straight through.
That was by clipping. There was a gate at the very start, which it's probably nearly faster to just open the gate normally in terms of just getting past the gate, but by doing so you actually despawn the enemy triggers for this whole area.
Yeah, the one thing it's worth noting though is that because he's done that, he's not hitting any checkpoints, so any death up to a certain point will take him right back to the start of chapter 4.
Yeah, and it's still a minute from now.
Yeah,
so if I die right at the end of it, I could lose
Quite a lot
2.5
of
minutes
time.
or something like that.
Yeah, it's not fun. Yeah, I'm still not sure where you got combat speed. You didn't get combat speed there, that's
Yeah, I
odd.
don't know.
Hey, nice. Again, trying to get a little bit of extra height to make that jump if you jump onto the rock behind and then jump backwards.
Yeah, and you're not really supposed to land on that rock, I don't think. Like the
Don't
game,
think so,
if you don't do it in a certain way, the game sort of tries to push you off it. So I sort of ran into the corner and then darted back, and that seems to make it reasonably consistent.
This gate's a little bit finicky.
I've actually messed up and. Ooh. That was a bit weird. Sometimes if I think it occurs when you get Drake's hitbox through the wall, but the camera's still stuck on the other side. It sort of jolts the camera around really violently, which can cost you a couple of seconds while you realize which way you've got to hold to go forward, basically.
Yeah. You don't have combat speed here, so be careful with jumps. Yeah, so
There's quite a few tiny little platforming saves that you can do here. All of them saving 1 second or maybe even less than 1 second. But I basically don't do any of them because dying here takes me all the way back to the start of chapter 4.
Yeah, there's a certain point, like after this bit of platforming, once he gets to the bridge up in a few minutes, or a few seconds rather, he'll be safe. He'll hit a checkpoint. But yeah.
This final jump here is a little bit hairy sometimes.
Okay,
but
cool. Yeah. You definitely didn't fail that one at PAX last year. No, you don't sleep. But yeah, so now that he's here, he can die and he just respawn here, which is good. So.
A quick word on the PAX run. I did the last run of this type of PAX. For ASM, but they were really hideously behind time. So there was a run after me, which was the last run of the day, but we were so far behind schedule that we weren't sure if it was going to make it in. So we basically cut. I didn't do chapter 1. I just started from chapter 2. I died on that jump that we were just talking about.
Skipped ahead.
And we basically just said, well, that's basically the end of chapter 4. We'll just skip straight to chapter 5.
Yeah.
We skipped chapter 6, which is just an auto-scroller, basically.
Yeah, it was very much the abridged version. Now you get the full version.
Yeah.
Because there is some interesting stuff that was left out at PAX as well. So a lot of it is this, but yeah, there is still some interesting things that we left out last time.
So coming up is the area of many skips. There's actually quite a few ways that you can get through here. I'm going to go for the fastest method, which is a barrel skip. Basically, if you take cover in front of a barrel that's down here and you sort of vault over it, you'll just click yourself straight into the forest. The backup strat for that is a little bit riskier because I have to run through a whole bunch of the guys. Whoops, I did that way too early.
Yep, okay.
Well, here's the backup strat. Basically, I was just going to try and vault over that barrel, but now if I set myself up here without dying, we'll just do that.
Cool.
It's really easy, that skip, but you have to do a few non-intuitive things to get it. You would think when you vault over it, you should hold forward so that you can keep moving towards the end of the chapter. But if you do that, it'll actually pop you straight back in bounds. So you've got to vault over it and then let go of the control stick, and then he does that little judder up and down that you might have seen. And that actually means that he's clipped into the forest and you can move forward.
Yeah, there's ways where you can do the clipping method as well. Like those are the two fastest ways. Oh, okay, you good? Yeah, there's a bunch of traps here you have to avoid. But yeah, so the barrel clip is good, but obviously it is dependent on whether or not they shoot the barrel or not. So.
The barrel skip looks more or less the same. I would have vaulted over the barrel and just been in the forest. I just would have taken a slightly different route to get out. Another method is just to sort of force yourself with the normal clipping tech into the forest right at the start. That might be faster if you do it really, really well, because you do it quite a lot earlier, but it wouldn't be by much anyway.
Yeah. Also, you just climbed, because of shenanigans prior, the wall doesn't really spawn there immediately, so you just sort of, but obviously you can still start climbing it as
All the collision is still there,
Yep.
but the graphics for it haven't loaded yet. So.
Yeah. So you just start climbing this invisible wall, and then it pops in. So it's pretty funny.
So this clip can be a bit of a pain in the butt. We'll see if it's nice to us today.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was
I
good.
thought I was through, so I
good.
stopped.
Yeah. This wall likes to push you out a lot.
The uneven ground that you're standing on, there's like a box on the ground, and I think the chain on the wall also affects it.
Okay, that would make sense.
I mean, it's all just guesswork, but they're sort of the uneven components of it. I sort of went around to that second door where I could have just clipped straight through the door that was directly in front of me, but if I did that, I would have spawned all the enemies in this area that I'm walking through at the moment.
It's a pretty dangerous area, that, actually. So.
Yeah. Something about the difficulty, we're playing on very easy.
Looks good, yeah.
It's hard to see. But some things in the game have like a static amount of damage, and I'm pretty sure they do the same amount of damage no matter the difficulty. Stuff like explosions, like grenades and mounted guns, seem to always do around about the same amount of damage. If you stand, if there's like nothing but a single mounted gun somewhere, it sort of is like if they empty a whole clip and you don't take cover, that's sort of when you take damage. And all of that applies still on very easy. So there are still a couple of combat things that can still mess you up even on the easiest difficulty.
Alright, so this clip is interesting. He has to
Grenade.
Yeah, to be able to progress through here. There's on the first side he was on. See, there's a triangle where he has to open the gate. That input isn't there until he clips through the gate and then back through again for some reason.
Yeah, it's really weird how that works. It looks really
idea.
stupid that you clip through and then clip straight back, but I couldn't have hit that button until I did it. And the buttons in here won't show up until I've pressed the button out there.
Yeah.
So, it looks a little bit weird. The only really bad thing that can happen there, and it sort of did, is grenades. Usually, you usually get like one grenade, 1 or 0, and quite often when you get one, it'll be in a place where you don't have to worry about it anyway. In that case, they threw the grenade right at the door as soon as I got onto the other side, so I just sort of had to wait there. It does look pretty cool though, because the gate stops all of the damage from going through. So the grenade can be sitting right next to you and it'll go off. And it just
So if you're pretty low in health, you can just kind of sit there for a minute like Spud did, just to refill. Also on the PS3 version, on easy difficulty, that room is really dangerous. Very, very easy to die. You would not just barrel in there like you did.
People who have
on this
done
version.
brutal playthrough. Brutal's the hardest difficulty in this game, and people who have done brutal playthroughs will tell you all about the blue room and how bad the blue room is.
Yeah.
And even on easy, when you're trying to go through there quickly, it's very hairy. But there is a secondary skip that you can do that despawns most of the enemies. Most or all? It might be all of them.
I think it's all of them. Like you go up and you trigger something,
you,
and then you go back.
It's another weird one. You go up and you get onto the platform where you jump down, but then you get up on there and then you jump back the way that you came, and then you clip through the wall. And that loads enough so that you can press the button.
It doesn't load the enemies.
But it doesn't load the enemies, Which
odd.
is one of those things that just makes you amazed that people figured that out. Because there's like no possible reason you would want to go back after you've climbed up onto that ledge.
Oh, it's also worth pointing out as well, when he's going upstairs, he's either shooting upstairs or he's rolling upstairs. Just like running upstairs normally, even with combat speed, it's not that fast.
So
He
you
has
get
like
locked
an
into
animation.
a standard stair climbing animation, no matter what your speed state is.
Yeah.
It can take quite a while.
Yeah, so you've been seeing him roll upstairs instead of shooting. Obviously, shooting you waste ammo. So if you would like ammo, ammo refills at the end of some checkpoints and chapters though, so it's not a big issue. But yeah, you'll see him rolling upstairs. The issue with rolling though is that sometimes you'll just take cover because it's the same button to take cover it is to roll. So if you see him just randomly take cover at the start of stairs, it's because he was trying to roll up the stairs.
Yeah, generally speaking, I'll always try and shoot, but if I'm trying to conserve ammo, I might do a roll upstairs.
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning, like you see him, even though he had an empty clip, he was still shooting while going up the stairs. It acts exactly the same way whether you have ammo in the gun or not, so you still want to be like, even though it's going click, 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 yeah, you still want to be shooting while going upstairs because it gives you the full speed.
I don't think I've ever had a grenade thrown at me there.
Yeah.
Not going that way anyway. Usually if I go the other way, which is a little bit slower,
Oh my god, another one.
well, I don't think they're going to
I
get me.
really don't like you today.
There's a jump here that skips a little bit of platforming. It's a little bit precise there.
That's
should be
pretty
fine. Oh, okay, that's
Okay.
good
Wow, I've
enough.
never seen a grab there.
I've seen that a
That's
couple of times.
Yeah.
As long as you get the distance,
Yeah.
something will usually work out. If you go too far, like from the camera angle now, if you go too far to the left, you'll usually trigger the checkpoint, and when you'll die, you'll fall to your death, but you'll basically spawn in front of where you were, grabbing the ledge. So if you go too far to the right, what happened there will happen. You'll just grab onto a lower ledge, and if you get it right, you'll grab onto the top ledge. Would anyone like to do Chapter 6? Literally anyone can do most of Chapter 6 if they would
What
like.
were you looking
Yeah.
for?
Chapter 6 on the Explorer difficulty, it's a complete auto-scroller, and because it's Explorer difficulty, you can almost not pay attention at all. Even though there's like a bunch of enemies around, you'll see, I think you'll probably be shooting things, but like you really don't need to at all.
This very first area, you can blast your way through here because there's a couple of explosives and quite a lot of guys early on, but after this there's just the very occasional vehicle. Even when I have to do this, I usually just spend my time cutting trees down more than anything else.
Deforestation.
Yeah, exactly, because apparently machine guns can do that at this speed.
This is way more efficient. Why haven't I been doing this earlier? But yeah, there are a couple of events, like things blocking your path that you have to shoot, otherwise you will die.
Yeah, they're all very far in there, so it is quite possible to just hand the controller over to someone who's never played it before for the next 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I play with inverted controls. If I didn't do that, you could pretty much give the controller for the whole chapter, because there's basically 2 shots that you've got to make to not get killed at certain points.
Yeah, like you can, I think I've seen in the entire history of me running this game, watching other people run this game on the PS4 version, I've seen 1 death during this section from actual like enemies, like 1 total. So
Yeah, and generally speaking, that will be when the runner is like taking a break or
Yep.
something. Because
and well, even then, like you can just about not touch the controller.
Yeah, like
so a lot of people will go to the bathroom or go get a drink during this time.
I have
Usually
definitely
pretty
done
safe.
that.
Yeah.
For PB runs and stuff like that, if, you've already done this section, 4 times for the day. I've just gotten my phone out and started looking at Discord and stuff like that during this section.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This is actually my first run for the day, so I'm a little bit more tolerant to at least some minor deforestation. There is a very small time save here. Actually, use an audio cue. There it is.
Yep.
You can hear the engine wind down a little bit, which allows you to slightly better than your reaction speed to get that reload checkpoint. Quarter of a second or something like that.
Yeah, that was the first thing he had to destroy. If he didn't blow up that truck, he would have just rammed straight into it and failed and had to start over from that checkpoint. So, which isn't too bad because it's right there, but...
Yeah, I mean, if you die there, 10 seconds or something like that. But
10 seconds.
It's a little bit embarrassing to die during an auto-scroller.
It
Especially
has
when
happened
you're
to
not
me
on the
before. I'm sure it's happened to you as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, it's just a rite of passage failing that.
Yeah. Second part that we have to do is coming up soon.
Yep,
I
that'll be it.
always underestimate how long this tunnel is.
It's very long, yeah. But there's like a bunch of rocks blocking your path that you have to destroy right here.
And I usually shoot it twice to get the debris out of the way. I have absolutely no idea if that actually saves time. I feel like you sort of collide with them, but you have nothing to lose by shooting them twice. So
Yeah, that's more than enough time.
That's chapter 6. It's quite boring. But now, sort of the game, up until now, like most of the things in the game have been on one map, and you're able to clip into things that are on the same map. I mean, technically everything is on the same map in this, but we're going to move to a different like island basically, in terms of where the game stores all of the areas. And unlike where we have been, where it's been very sort of vast and open, the next place that we're going to is very tight and constricted, which means that our wall clipping tech will get us a lot further. And we'll start skipping a lot more chapters.
Yeah, you'll skip entire chapters. Like, at the moment we've been skipping, enemy triggers and things, but yeah, you can skip multiple chapters with like a couple of clips. Also, coined the Speedrunner's Ledge by Spud himself. There's just a very convenient ledge right there that you can just run along this clip and just go straight to the jet ski part, so it's kind of nice.
A guy called Oven Donkey ran this at one of the AGDQs, and he ended up getting a job with Naughty Dog, the people who made this game. And the PS4 version of this came out shortly after it, so I like to think that he put that in there for it. It was still there in the PS3 version, it makes no sense, but it's a good story, I suppose.
Yeah, so you can do this a little bit riskier and just like drive past or some of the barrels like that. That one's not so bad, but you can drive past the two that he did in that little archway area. They can just randomly, like, they're usually pretty bad with their shots, but sometimes they can just randomly shoot them as you're going past. It happens every once in a while, and yeah, you can die and you have to redo it again. But,
Alright, so a fair bit of stuff is going to happen here. I'm going to shoot, which will put me in combat, so I've got combat running speed. The camera will spaz out. That's a feature exclusive to the PS4 version. I don't really know why they did that, but anyway, the camera spazzes out when you get off the jet ski there. And now...
we got some fun stuff coming up now.
We're actually now technically in Chapter 10. We were just in Chapter 8. And we're going to use camera mode to move the camera into an area that will load this area properly. By doing that and putting the camera in a certain spot, we sort of tricked the game into thinking that we were in this area. And it sort of loads this area. There's meant to be hundreds and millions of enemies in here as well, but they've all despawned.
Which you'll see as you clip through this gate, you'll actually see an enemy pop in. Is right on, if you can see him. There he is.
I'd never noticed that before.
Yeah. As soon as you clip through that gate, he just appears. So...
this whole ledge here is meant to be QTEs. Fortunately, very fortunately, you can make them with normal jumps. But like a lot of these ledges are meant to fall away, and lots of bad stuff's meant to happen. But
because it's a quick time event as well, the jumps aren't, as Scott said, they're not as intended. Like, because you're not supposed to do it with normal gameplay. Also, falling down there soft locks the game, so
it's a little bit hairy. So some of those jumps, none of them are particularly hard, but the added pressure of possibly soft locking the game is a pretty big, makes you worry about it a little bit more. So I stood behind that pillar just to make sure that the guy with the mounted gun was reloading, because as we said, the mounted guns still do a lot of damage on this difficulty.
Yeah.
So we just waited for him to stop firing, basically, and then we just ran to the corner where we could clip out. Lots of clicking to get up these stairs nice and quickly.
Yeah, to refill his ammo, I think after this.
Yeah, the bridge gives you some pistol ammo.
Yeah, the game's pretty forgiving with just giving you ammo after like pretty much every cutscene. So yeah, he's got like full 24 ammo again. So.
I don't really have a set plan as to get up there, as to like what stairs I shoot up and what ones I roll up. I just sort of know that I need a little bit of ammo coming up. So if I desperately need something, every enemy drops ammo. So it's not a huge deal to.
Yeah, it takes obviously a little bit of time to pick up like guns and ammo though, so you want to try and avoid doing that where possible, and just like letting the cutscenes refill your ammo if you can. So you have to kill all these enemies in this area before it lets you, like it gives you the prompt to get on.
I'm actually amazed that I didn't get the
other
brutal thing.
Yeah. But yeah, if you have to kill all those enemies, then it gives you the prompt to get on the jet ski, and this is the second jet ski section. This one is a little bit more dangerous.
I believe it's actually the third, but we actually totally skipped the second
Oh,
one.
we did. I
The
forgot
second
about
one
that,
is
yeah.
chapter 9.
Yeah.
And yeah, when we clipped through that first wall after getting off the first jet ski, we completely skipped chapter 9. We were halfway through chapter 10.
Yeah. So the fastest way to get through here is you can aim the gun, I believe.
You can stop
You
and aim,
stop
yeah.
and aim the gun, but obviously that's slow. So you've got a laner on the back who you just kind of hold the fire button.
I wish you could hold it.
Oh, you can hold it. You have to spam it, I guess.
You got to mash it.
And just kind of blind fires, and Elena's not the best shot sometimes, so...
She's an amazing shot sometimes, and absolutely terrible the
Yeah,
other
snipe
times.
one that's really far away, but won't get the one that's right in front of you that's about to kill you. So, how's she doing? She's doing all right.
She's doing pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah, but sometimes you just have to slow right down and just like wait until she destroys the barrels that are like directly in front of her face. Because yeah, the auto lock on thing sometimes doesn't really work all too well.
After you've used the jet ski a fair few times, you sort of get used to how it handles and how it turns and that, but if something slightly goes wrong, you find yourself caterwailing all over the river, going left and right where you don't want to. So yeah, those two barrels there, I slow right down before.
I think you got both of them, yeah. There's a couple more, or two more there.
Those are sort of the most dangerous ones because they come around very shortly after turns. So if you're going for like a really, really fast time, you sort of have to turn really quickly and just hope that Elena gets them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, it's better off just slowing down a fair bit there.
Should be good from there.
There is still a very small chance that I'll take enough shot damage here to die around up here that we look to be going pretty well. Usually if you hit that little waterfall thing and you're in the grey, you might be in trouble. But you quite often get away with it as well.
Yeah. It said there's like a rocket launcher guy that can sometimes just snipe you and kill you when you're pretty far along as well. It's very unfortunate when it happens, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah, the rocket launcher's got the guy's aim seems to improve when you're already damaged. So it sort of adds insult to injury. Usually if you've taken a lot of damage and you're about to go to where the rocket launcher guy is, I usually wait a little bit.
Yeah.
It might just be a superstition sort of thing, but I feel like his aim improves when you're already damaged.
Ooh, that's, yeah. Oh, good thing that clip's easy.
If I was doing the gate clip there, I might have got hit by that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was meant to, but we didn't explain this. There's been a couple of times where there are like forced walking sections like that. You can actually roll into them to get a little bit further ahead because the roll is slightly faster than walking. So I could have done that there, but I was for some reason expecting it to be another staircase.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I grabbed the AK, it's out of ammo, but I can use it to get up these stairs a little bit faster.
He also went a little out of his way to pick up, was it a Deagle, I think, which is a very, very strong pistol, and it has like a decent amount of ammo as well. He's also going to clip into the top of these stairs. There's a few things you can do there. There's usually 4 enemies that spawn here. Because he did that clip at the top of the stairs, it only spawns 2 of them.
Yeah, the main reason that we do that clip is to skip a short cutscene.
Also that, yeah.
There is, losing 2 of the enemies is a bit of a side benefit. The other thing you can do is clip further down, and if you do that, then you despawn all of the enemies and you can actually clip through a little bit faster, but there's a death plane that you can hit there, so I did learn that at one point, but that was sort of when I was looking at mostly PB runs, so I did a slightly safer one for the marathon.
Alright, hopefully this goes as well as it did in practice.
Yeah. This clip is really cool because the whole area is despawned, but it's also a little bit hairy because you have to wait for this area to load in, and we were talking about this yesterday, and it might just be me, but every now and again, I reckon probably 1 in every 15, maybe 1 in every 20 runs, I was using like a test there to see whether or not the area had loaded. Basically, if Drake put his arm out to grab onto a ledge, then it was safe to drop down, even if the area hadn't visibly loaded in yet. Yeah, every now and again, he just won't put his arm out, and no matter what I do, I can't once I'm out there, I can't get the area to
force
load
it
in.
to spawn, yeah. I've never seen it myself, but yeah.
It's probably, I'm guessing it's probably happened to me about 10 times thereabouts.
Wow, yeah.
I've accidentally flipped my aim here. This clip is a little bit annoying. I swear I used to get this really easily every time, and it just turned off one day.
Yeah.
Maybe it was when we stopped playing PS3 and moved on to PS4.
Maybe. This one does like to push you out as well. Yep, all good.
There we go. I was quite lucky that I made it through there, actually.
Yep. And then puzzle, same every time, so just turn a couple of these and you can progress on. But yeah. So it obviously skips a lot. The clip he did, how many chapters does
So
it skip?
when we got off the jet ski, we were in chapter 13.
Yeah.
We killed those two guys. We went into that room. We clipped through that gate. There's a piece of paper behind the wall. We clipped through that gate. That actually takes you from the start of, well, pretty close to the start of chapter 13 to near the end of, it's probably actually closer to the middle of chapter 15. And then the clip outside of the building takes you more or less to the end of chapter 16. Chapter 16 is meant to be basically just a big puzzle room. Like if I look around, there's like platforms everywhere. You're meant to walk along all of those and find stuff and hit levers and stuff like that. But all of the puzzling is purely for the benefit of opening this gate, which of course we can just go straight through. So yeah, there's probably, there are glitchless runs. I believe that room takes like 3 or 4 minutes.
Wow. Yeah.
Just to, running around. There's no combat speed. Yeah, there's, it's quite a long section doing it normally.
I get a unique sort of jump here. So if you vault over that and then kind of spam jump, it actually gives you an extra jump out of that to clear. To get to that platform, and you have to do that to avoid taking full damage. You can't, although you've died before on that one, so.
Yeah, like not recently. Another thing we were talking about was that I used to do that skip. This is back in the PS3 days. And I would die from fall damage from that skip, and I have no idea why now, because I don't do anything special for it now. I just very haphazardly jump over.
Yeah.
And I haven't died in 100 runs or something. It's actually pretty bad news if you die there too, because you go to the start of chapter 16.
Yeah. Again, skipping all the checkpoints because clicking through everything. So you also have to make sure you kill every single enemy in this section, because if you progress up to this like bridge point. Without killing all of them, Elena will just die. Oh my goodness. The rocket launcher guys are scary, yeah.
That's why I was sort of shooting very haphazardly around the corner just to sort of get him to like take cover or do something other than shoot me. But yeah, sometimes the frame that you're available to be shot at, they'll shoot at you, and they can hit you and they will kill you.
Yeah.
It's just really bad luck if it happens. There are ways of, oh god, really? I'm trying to press the button on here,
just like
and there's
swapping
a
back
fucking
and
gun
forth.
in the way. Swedger, sorry.
Alright. So you can see he picked up a shotgun.
The shotgun's a little bit of a waste of time. You definitely don't need it. It's just a bit of a nicety. It takes about 3 seconds to pick up, and it just means that the ammo that you use in the section coming up is a little bit easier. I should have jumped there. Those like flighty sort of jumps that I do sometimes are actually one of the fastest ways of moving. So if you can get up onto a high platform and do one of those jumps, then it can actually save a fair bit of time.
Another forced walking section, which is why he rolled up those stairs.
There's gotta be a way out
Let's do that. Run forward a little bit for no reason.
Alright,
It's a speed run, I gotta hold forward. So this section is, a lot of the sections I do in this are reasonably sloppy, but this is one of the things where it's quite easy for me to save time here, but it just requires a lot of memorization that I haven't done yet. Basically, zombies are going to pop out of the floor. The world record runners know exactly where they're going to spawn and will shoot them the moment they come out. I'm just going to run around like a dickhead, basically, and shoot them as they come out, as I see them, basically.
Yeah, so you want to try and, at the very least, you want to try and, like they'll spawn in waves. You want to get the last one of each wave as quickly as possible to spawn the next wave.
Yeah.
And then obviously you want to get the very last one pretty much immediately, because the second you kill it, it'll trigger a cutscene for you to skip. So
you can use the guy with you. He'll start pointing at things pretty quickly, so you can use him as a bit of a mark as to where things are or where they're spawning. So it isn't going to save like a huge amount of time to memorize all of these, but it is basically free time that I just haven't gone through the work of learning just yet.
Yep, so yeah, the second he killed that one, it closed the cutscene. And now it's just you, and you're waiting for Elena to drop something you can climb up. So.
I'm pretty sure this section is purely just timed. I don't think you can speed it up. I think the zombies fall into the category of being... I don't think they have a fixed damage like a lot of the other things in the game, but they do seem to do a higher amount of damage than you would expect on very easy. If you get you can get locked into combat with them as well, like into little QTEs. You do want to keep them away from you, which is, if you are going to do the haphazard thing of not memorizing all of the things, you're sort of better off just blind firing and running around. That way they can't grab hold of you and waste time.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to point out, this tunnel you run through.
Yeah, you hold down there, but because the cutscene was facing the other direction, you'll run the other way unless you hold it at the right time.
Yeah, so this tunnel you run through, it's stable on the PS4 version. On the PS3 version, the game can just crash randomly.
Shout outs to Naughty Dog for... The PS3 version was really, really stressful to run because you could get up to that part and just have a crash and your run would be over. I did this a few times in practice.
Also, it's worth pointing out, it's Chapter 18. Just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, this is the very start of Chapter 18, and provided I don't fall to my death again.
Yep. Yeah, that gate likes to push you off the edge, but he wants to jump onto this ladder. And when he comes out of the ground,
after it loads for a bit.
And he's at the start of chapter 20, so he just skipped 2 chapters with 1 clip and jumping onto a ladder.
Yeah, amazingly, the whole idea with chapter 18 and 19 is that you spend a bit of time going into this underground section, and you do a whole bunch of stuff with the zombies down there. And when you come back up, you actually end up in exactly the same place. And you just end up exiting the area through that wall in the same place. And amazingly, all of the triggers and stuff are loaded there. So if you can get through and onto that ladder, or even like below the ladder, it's actually faster if you don't grab onto the ladder and you trigger a checkpoint and then die by like 1 second or something.
So now we've got the courtyard area. This is actually like a pretty long combat area as well. But the objective is to get into this church, and there's usually another like a pretty hard combat area inside the church as well. But you clip into it, and there's no enemies here at all.
Yeah, another thing with static damage, if I recall correctly, are snipers. If you get hit by a sniper, it'll either nearly kill you or it will kill you. They're reasonably easy to avoid, but there's about 6 of them in this area. But yeah, fortunately we can despawn all of them now.
Clip into this secret passageway.
Yeah, there's a secret passageway underneath this thing, but if you clip into it, you can just sort of fall beneath it.
Yeah. And it's another chapter gone. So it's 3 chapters done very, very quickly with this series of clips.
And this section is nearly a cutscene in disguise. There is a small combat section after this, but yeah, basically we just barrel our way through here as fast as possible, clicking our gun furiously.
Yep.
Quick donation here. We've got Foxtel is giving $10.95. Hey, long time donator, first time viewer. Donation goes to Runner's Choice and Save the Animals.
Alright.
Thank you very much.
Do we have any donation centers that haven't been met, or maybe we'll put it towards that, I guess. Alright. So So he wants to actually make sure he keeps ammo, because these guys are pretty strong. You want to kill them before they get into combat with you.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a trade-off there. You need to be able to make sure you finish reloading so that you can shoot them, but shooting saves time, so because you're running upstairs. So there's a couple of blank shots that I did there, but I only did a certain amount so that I didn't have to reload in front of one of those guys.
You didn't actually get him to spawn that time. So
yeah, well, last time I managed to take a whole bunch of damage from the guy, and then I died on the next screen, which was really weird. So yeah. I ended up in a very awkward situation where the guy had spawned on the other side of the wall.
We're coming very close to the end of the game. This is the final boss. Again, Explorer difficulty makes this boss incredibly trivial. Usually you're supposed to take cover, wait for him to shoot, destroy the cover, and then you know, you can run up to him while he's reloading after a few times, but because he does less damage, you just run up to him and start the QTE. Also, time's coming up very, very shortly.
And time.
Cool, so good final boss, but...
Yeah, so yeah. My PB in that game would have been at SpudCon a couple of years ago, but I actually messed up that QT, which is the same every time, and yeah.
Pretty close, yeah.
Thank you.
50. It's still going. That's like a mid to low 50.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Not bad, yeah.
Very happy with that. Next run is Hat in Time with this guy.
No, Time Splitters.
Oh, Time Splitters,
then
sorry.
Hat in Time.
Time Splitters. Time Splitters with that guy.
Cool.
And thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the marathon. Worked out pretty well. Yeah, I looked behind because I thought, was that a PB? It was like close.
Quite a day.
For Rad
Yeah, save the world, triumph over evil. Pretty typical.
Really?
It's a shame we're leaving empty-handed, though.
Oh, well, you know, I did manage to save one small thing. Here, I thought you might miss it.
Not wearing one of those.
Alright, so while we're set up for time splitters, just a reminder again, all donations this week go to